This is week 13 of the 52 weeks of picks. This week's theme, repetition. This is week 13 of the 52 weeks of picks. This week's theme, repetition. This is week 13 of the 52 weeks of picks. This week's theme, repetition. Okay, this week is repetition, and I'm going to take a shot of the wall over here. We have a nice pattern going on here. First thing I've set up here is the umbrella set to 1/4 power, and that is set up manually. The zoom is 24 millimeters. I want to get the most coverage out of the umbrella, the flash on the inside of the umbrella, because I'm going to try and light this wall nice and even here. I'm going to turn the camera on. That's also being triggered by the Adobe flash triggers again. And my settings on the camera are 1/60th of a second at f8, because I want to keep the whole thing in focus here. It shouldn't be too difficult. I could probably shoot a little more open than that, because it's going to be on a flat plane, so there wouldn't be any real problems with depth of field, but I'm trying to keep it, even if I do move the camera slightly off, I won't have to worry too much about a problem with the depth of field here. So that's ISO 100. I'm going to just give a little test here, make sure the flash is working, and the flash didn't go off. There we go. And I'm also shooting with the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens. I'm going to see how it works out. And let's take a little test shot here. And that's pretty decent there. Actually might be a little bit too strong. So I'm going to turn up the aperture to f11 and try this again. I don't want it to be too bright, and I'm not sure I like how on the right side there it's a little crooked. I'm trying to make sure that I keep everything straight. I'm going to back off. I'm going to go actually right out to 18 millimeters here. And I'm a little crooked, but you can actually see the distortion of the lens in this here. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit, because I am getting a little barrel distortion from the lens. And there we go. That's pretty cool. I might have to crop that a little bit just to make it even over there on each side. But I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to bring this into Photoshop, and we'll work the rest from there. All right, guys, I will see you in Adobe Bridge. Okay, now that we're in Adobe Bridge, here are the images that I had taken. And as you can see, we'll go through. The first one, like I said, I thought was a little too bright. But judging here, it doesn't look too bad. And then I turned the flash power down, or I'm sorry, not the flash power, but I turned down the aperture on these images, and they seem to be a little bit too dark now. Once again, I really probably should readjust the monitor on the back of the camera so I can get a little more accurate depiction of what's going on here. So this way, every time I come into Bridge or Photoshop or Camera Raw, I don't have to readjust this exposure setting too much. So, all right, this one was a little tilted. As you can see, that little distortion here, how this actually kind of curves right over here. Same thing with this image. This one actually looks straight on this side, and then this whole piece is kind of distorted and cut off here. Same with here. You can actually really see it pretty good here, where it's very close here, and then as it gets to the top, you can see them bowing inward a little bit. both on the top and the bottom. And then the last image is the one that I decided that I wanted to use. So let's double click it and go into Camera Raw. Okay, here in Camera Raw, we're going to try and set our white balance and make it a little whiter here. So I'm going to click on the white balance tool up on the top here and just try and click in one of these white areas. And it's a little bit too yellow. Let's click another spot and see. Maybe there. I think that looks pretty good. And now I want to bring that exposure up because it did say it was a little bit dark. So I'm going to bring it up maybe a half a stop or so. And whoa, what happened there? Let's bring it up, like I said, maybe a half a stop. That's a little bit too high. Let's use the arrow keys and bring that down. I'm pushing the down arrow key right now. And maybe right around there, pretty good. And it looks a bit flat. And yes, I did say I wanted to light it evenly, so it would be a bit flat. It just doesn't have enough contrast in it. So I'm just going to crank that up. And that looks pretty good right around there. Maybe a little lower than that. The computer seems to be lagging a little bit here. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to run with it. Well, let's see. All right, let's bring the white levels up a little bit. Let's get these whites really rich. So I'm going to bring that up. And I don't want it to be too white, but maybe let's go 50. And I think that looks good right there because it's nice rich whites. And then colors here are a little bit drab because we moved the contrast up. So let's open up with a little bit of vibrance. And that's kind of cool. Well, maybe we can add a little more contrast to it. Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. The other thing I want to do here in Camera Raw is correct the barrel distortion that's on here. We could also do this in Photoshop, but I'm going to do it here in Camera Raw. I mean, why not do everything in RAW? You know, it gives you the most flexibility. So I'm going to click this lens correction tab over here. Okay, in the lens correction tab, I'm going to click on this Enable Lens Profile Corrections. And then down in the lens profile area, I'm going to click on this and we're going to select Canon because that is the type of camera I use. And you can see right there, it recognizes which lens it is. It's the EFS 18 to 55 millimeter, 3.5 to 5.6 lens that was on there. And it automatically corrected the barrel distortion. I'm going to hit the preview here so you can see exactly what it did do. And look at that. It automatically corrected that whole thing. And that's all I have to do in here. I don't seem to need to correct anything else. There's no custom settings or anything that need to be done in here. So we're just going to open the object up in Photoshop. Okay, in Photoshop, what I want to do is make this image just a little bit more interesting. It's just not that interesting. So I'm going to hit Control-T to open up the Free Transform tool and hover over the outside. You'll see my cursor changes as to where I am. And I'm just going to go right on the outside here so it changes to a curved double-headed arrow, and it's going to allow me to rotate the thing here. And I'm going to go a little bit more there. A little too much. Maybe right around here. You know what? I'm going to type right up in this corner here. I'm just going to type in 36. And then I'm going to increase the sides by grabbing the corner here. And you can see that allows me to just resize it. But holding down the Shift and Alt key will resize it, constrain the proportions, and resize it from the center. I'm just going to fill the entire screen with that. And that looks pretty neat. And just hit enter on the keypad. And you know what, maybe resize that just a little bit more. Hit Control T again. Control T, not just T. And now I can't see my handles here. And I'm just going to hit Control 0, and that will back off to allow me to see the entire bounding box here. And then I'm just going to click, and while holding Control and Alt again, I'm sorry, Shift and Alt again, and I'm just going to raise it just a little bit more because that little corner right there was kind of bothering me. And then hit enter on the keypad. And now we can zoom back in. And that kind of fills the screen there. And I think I got a couple little marks in here. Yeah, I got some over there. So I'm going to go over to the spot healing brush right there. And I'm going to make sure we have sample all layers checked, because right now you see this little notification telling me you can't do anything, and that's because I have a smart object here. So I'm going to just create a new layer, and making sure that sample all layers is selected. You can see with the new layer selected, I'm able to now draw on the image. So I'm going to zoom in, hold down my Z key and zoom. And you can see we have a couple of little spots here. I'm just going to draw on there, maybe a little bit on here. And I'm just going to search around the image to look for some spots and stuff. And for some strange reason, my computer seems to be lagging a little bit. I'm not sure why. Let me zoom out just a little bit to 100% here, and just click over here. A little bit there. And a little bit there. Maybe some right here. Control Z. Maybe do that one. Kind of picked up a little bit from the outside there. And we have a little spot here. And a little one there. Zoom out a little bit more. Go maybe 50% here. And I did not realize that there was this much stuff on the walls. Okay, and there we go. Oh, maybe just this one little spot right here as well. And there we go. I think we're good. Last thing I want to do is turn this into a smart object. But I want to have all these... I could merge it down, but that would destroy my smart object here. So I'm just going to hold down the Alt key and go into this menu here and click on Merge Visible, and that made a new layer without merging all the other layers into one. And then I'm going to hit Control Comma, which is my shortcut for Smart Object. And then I'm going to run a sharpening filter on here. So I'm going to go up to Filter, Sharpen, Smart Sharpen. And the settings here are good to start with. So if you click on here, you can see if it just sharpens it a little bit. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell the difference in the video, but I'm just going to hit OK. And you can see that opened up the Smart Sharpen filter there with a mask. You can get rid of the mask if you'd like, but I'm going to leave the whole image as a sharpened image. Then I'm going to double click on this little parametric icon over here. And I'm just going to change the blending mode to luminosity. So there's no colors being affected by my sharpening. And that is it. I'll go over into full screen here, hitting F a few times. And there we go. Okay, guys. I will see you all next week. Bye.